GDC, or the Game Developers Conference, is this thing that a lot of normal people who care about video games probably don't know about, right? Would you say?
Oh yeah. Why would you?
But
you can't come.
Yeah, sorry.
You can't get in.
You can't come because it's super expensive. But it turns out it's very, very important. And it's not important like E3, where there's like lots of big announcements, but there is a reason to kind of care. What would you say GDC is on like the most top level?
It's a bunch of lectures, it's panels, it's developers gathering to talk about games, how they're made, what people want to do with their games. GDC itself has been around for a very long time. GDC is actually older than me, which is like a fun trivia fact. I know, right?
I'm so young.
Just to make you feel old for a second.
Thank you.
Yeah, so GDC got its start in
42.
Oh, plant, I'm sorry.
I'm dying.
So anyway, away from Plant's inevitable death. So it started as a bunch of people, about 25 people gathered in somebody's living room to meet and talk about games. And since then, it's blown up. Like they've been doing this for a very long time. They have like thousands of people that show up every year to come talk.
They just keep taking over space. Like this year, we were walking past the mall, and there was like a big sign. And we're like, oh, I thought Games Connection was part of GDC. It was in the Moscone Center, where these things normally are. It's like, oh no, now it's moved to the mall.
It's because in the mall now.
It's like it's in this other big building, and it's like, oh, sure, the 4th floor there is now just this.
Yeah.
And it seems like every time we're here, it's taken over more of San Francisco than it had the previous time. Since I came here the first time, probably in 2009, it's I mean, obviously grown a lot larger, but it's this weird place where you can kind of see what the thing is that everybody thinks they're going to make the most money off of in video games, where it's like, there was a while where it was like everything that you went to was mobile focused, and then specifically it was like free to play focused. And then this year there are tons and tons of panels about negotiating peace with your community. And you can tell like it's kind of this like shell-shocked from events of last year that has affected what GDC is this year. So it's kind of like a weird test of where the video game community is at any given time. And I think that's one way that it changes. You've been here 3 times, right?
Right.
Even in that amount of time, have you seen any changes?
It's hard to say. I feel like not a ton. I will say that one of the big things that I've at least heard is that they apparently have more women ever than speaking. So at this point, 20%, I believe, is about what it is the breakdown of how many women they have speaking this year. I mean, that's a big thing, right? Like we don't, even at E3, we still don't see that many women on stage.
Yeah, and I think they're making a concentrated effort to make those changes, which again is kind of the nice part about Game Developers Conference, is it feels a little bit more like the aspirational idea of the video game industry. It's like, this is what we want to be. And when there are years where I've been where that was a little depressing, because it felt like there was so many negative things happening that I couldn't imagine that being an aspirational goal. But this year, and I'm hoping, and last year, felt like they were kind of finding their footing and realizing that this needs to be a much more inclusive space. In terms of it being an important part for the average consumer, is there anything about it that you think is interesting for the normal person?
I mean, gosh, like the thing that I take away is there's like a bigger focus on indies here, I feel like. So that's, for me personally, that's what I want to know, because indies, I think, don't get as much attention at the bigger shows. So I feel like there's a lot more indie coverage at events like this. Even IGF, like the awards. We finally get to see those like big indie games be highlighted, and sometimes there are indie games there that are up for awards that I haven't even heard of. So I feel like it's a good chance to like really dip your toe into that. Yeah,
I think there's the IGF Awards and basically the GDC Awards, the Game Developer Choice Awards, and I think both of those feel more useful for the consumer. The person who's going out and buying games than probably any of the other award shows. While I enjoy other award shows, they feel very closely connected to the companies that they're giving games to. While this feels more like, oh, these are the games that people who actually make games are paying attention to, which is like an interesting way of looking at the platform. And it's closer to a lot of the awards that are given out in Hollywood. It's a great place for us as the press who want to report for our readers what's actually going on in the industry, because it is this place where you actually get to talk to the people who make the games. You're not talking to just the publicist or the marketing team, or just being sent a demo in the mail. You're actually talking to the people who are making these games and getting an idea of like what it's like to make them and what it's like to work in this industry. And I think that is maybe the most valuable thing about covering this place. Is I think the stories that you see across the year are influenced by the conversations that are had here, where we get an idea of what it's actually like to make games.